All right. What's up, guys? What is up? Welcome back to Deck Talk Podcast, and we've got a show for you tonight. Um, get ready to be blessed and inspired tonight because the guest that we have on here is probably the most inspirational angler that I know, and it is a blessing to be able to have him on here. But first, if you don't know, I am Colin Burnett.
And I am Norman Lee. You know what? This episode is brought to you by Spear Point Performance Hooks. Hooks proven and tested to put more fish in your boat. Using their proven V-grip technology, Spear Point hooks will perfectly present lures and provide the most secure connection between hook and fish, giving you the ability to help prevent fish from shaking off. Spear Point hooks are designed to perform and trusted by anglers all across the world. Go to www.spearpointhooks.com and make sure to use that discount code DECTALK10. Again, that's spearpointhooks.com using discount code DECTALK10. See what the buzz is about. Get yourself some Spearpoint Performance hooks today.
Heck yeah! Again, guys, if you did not know who we got on here today by just the title that we have again, like what I said, the most inspirational angler that I know, and is I've talked to him quite a few times. Uh, and it has always been a blessing to be able to talk to him. And if you don't know him, we got Mr. Clay Dyer here. How you doing, brother?
What's up, Clay?
Hey man, hey Colin and Norman, man, we're blessed, guys. Thank you for having us on today.
Man, it's great to have you on, brother. Great to have you on, man. I've been giddy about this episode here since we talked to you about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and you said, "Yeah, man, I come on here with y'all." So, man, we are blessed, and just a blessing to have you part of us tonight, there, Clay.
Yeah, it is definitely. This has been an episode that I've been waiting to get. I could not get here. It's almost like Christmas, and so,
All right.
so but Clay, let's get this started, brother.
Yes,
And
sir.
let's talk a little bit. How did you get started into fishing?
Well, growing up in a small town like I did in Hamilton, Alabama, we there wasn't a lot of malls and stuff like that, but I was always an outdoorsman anyway. My granddad was a big outdoorsman, and a lot of my family, so it was always hunting and fishing or going out and getting in the mud or playing sports. And I loved playing sports growing up. Baseball, football, basketball I was a typical young man that loved to play sports. But I caught my first fish out of my granddad's farm pond, and I really, to make a long story short, I really felt like that the professional fishing, a lot of kids dream of being pro athletes, and I felt like professional fishing was an avenue that they couldn't take away from me. The NFL might not draft me for obvious reasons, but it was a simple thing of I was not going to let what what the culture that we live in today tries to call a negative circumstance. I was not going to let that control my destiny and what I felt like I was meant to do in life.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's I've got a friend of mine that he's a double amputee. And he says one of the coolest things. He's like, because he lost his because of diabetes, and but he said it's losing his legs wasn't a disability. It was just a setback, and so and that's the perfect mindset and stuff. When was like how that happened to him, and it happened later in life, and that's the kind of mindset you got to have to be able to go and still live a life, because it's so easy for somebody just to kind of just be a homebody and just kind of be a shut in, and when something like that has happened, or I mean, and you have been definitely an inspiration on that to show, because I've seen videos of things that you've done, like changing your boat tire and stuff off the trailer, and so. Uh, but it has just been amazing just to kind of watch you through the years of what you're able to do. There's really nothing that you can't do that I've seen that it's just so inspirational.
Exactly. And you know something also, Clay? I was actually watching a video the other day. I think it was I think it was at the Nashville Boat Show, probably about 8 years ago, if I'm correct.
That
Uh,
was a while back.
yeah, it was quite a while back. But you know, you were talking about something that kind of you kind of mold yourself into, and try to help inspire others. And is basically, if Clay can, I can. You know,
Yes, that's
as far as, of course, you know, G-Man, he has positive mental attitude, which he preaches,
yes.
but you kind of took a little twist to that. Talk about that a little bit, as far as if Clay can, I can, and how that helps others out there that might not be able to do it. That kind of, I don't want to say kind of in your situation, but in life in general.
I had to say it Gerald was a and always has been a big big influence on me, a big inspiration to me. I've known Gerald for many years. We grew up about 50 miles apart, but what was funny was we both started our careers about the same time. He was a few years ahead of me, and we've worked shows together, and we've shared sponsorships together, and still do to this day. You're on the same sponsor team, but it's what I've done is a lot of the presentations when I go into high schools or corporations, is people. I pray that people have dreams, and what I try to show is how God has blessed me to live my dreams. That God instilled in me, and one of those aspects of that I take, 5 letters, the 5 letters of dream. And I talked about, you start out with determination and you focus on resources and that you have and don't dwell on what's missing. And then effort, attitude, and motivation. Well, the resources to me, goes back to if I can, you can. And I tell kids and I tell adults, look, um, I could have very easily focused on what I didn't have, but
Yeah.
I didn't dwell on that. I didn't cry and whine about it. I focused on what God gave me, and I tried to use that. And I tell kids and adults all the time, look, all these acronyms work together. But if you don't believe and you don't have the faith and you don't focus on what God's given you, the rest of it doesn't matter. It's definitely the faith and focusing on what God has given you that enables you to go out there and be successful. And kind of with the attitude thing. And if I can, you can. Is I tell people, if I can do what I can do with what I've got, don't tell me you can't, because you can either lay around and whine and cry and make excuses all day, or like the line that my wife told me after we first got married, that we kind of go by this day. If I have one of those tournament days where I perform well below what my standard is, and I come in and I'm aggravated and frustrated, of course, I don't ever try to take any of that on her. It's not her fault I didn't catch them, but our saying is she came up with this several years ago, and she looked at me when she could tell, that I was trying to process it and get ready for the next day. And she looked at me and she says, "Honey," she says, "put on your big boy panties and fish like a man tomorrow." And I just lost it, dude. I started just dying laughing. And
Yeah.
ever since that, it's kind of like uh, different people, process it and deal with it different ways. And I'm kind of one of those that smiles my way through it and kind of laugh about it and say, hey, it could always be worse. Let's get after it.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's true.
exactly. Exactly.
We got Aaron Vincent says, "Hello, Clay. Watch out for those two guys." So he's a buddy of
That's
ours.
it, man.
What
He's
Aaron
come
don't know,
on
y'all better watch out for me.
and so we got Lance Lanham. He's up from Nashville, which his boy Presley is also on here, which is Presley won the Tennessee State Championship in high school this year. Uh,
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
and so, and he says, "What's up, guys? Heard Clay a couple of times. Always inspiring."
Well, thank you, man. Did the
And
whole time, I didn't even have high school fishing for me.
yeah,
Uh,
right.
we might have attended a little bit more if they did, right?
We would have, ain't no doubt.
And just a little plug for Presley too. If all of our viewers click over to Presley has a new podcast that he's doing now, and he's killing it out there on his
Yeah, he
podcast.
is.
Uh,
I can't
and
think of the name of it
I was
right
just gonna
now.
say the name. Just hey Presley, if you're on here, comment in what the name is so it'd give you a plug out.
Yeah, or Lance, somebody.
Yeah, or Lance.
But so you talked a little bit about your faith, but how has your faith helped you and your walk with God helped you to get to where you are right now?
Oh man, it's everything, dude. It's in this life. I firmly believe that God created us all for a greater purpose than ourselves. Created us to serve Him, and when you have that relationship with Him, you get that. And people that don't have that relationship yet don't understand that. They don't understand the reward and the joy and the peace, and the happiness that comes along with living His will for your life and being saved and having that relationship. And to me, I mean, man, it's everything. I mean, dude, you try to go out there, in this world we live in today. Um, I remember 5 years ago, before I was saved, hearing people talk about, and this was before I knew Jesus as my Savior, hearing people prophesy and talk about what the world will be like basically now, like we're living. And I was like, oh man, I'm sitting here to be honest with you, going, oh, what kind of crack you smoking? You've lost your mind. You're a nut. All those negative things I was thinking. And now I look, after 25 years, I'm like, wow. But if you read the Bible, I mean, the Bible lays it out there. And in fact,
Yeah,
exactly, the Bible is the most accurate, truthful book, and it lays it out there. So it kind of goes back to the dream thing, but it's to me, like I said, I believe that God created all of us for a purpose. And a lot of us don't want to look at it that way, but we want to do it our way.
yeah,
And when I kept trying to do it my way, it was um, a lot of heartache, a lot of pain.
yeah,
And I've always had determination. I've always had willpower. But when those things are used for the wrong thing and the wrong ways of life, it's very detrimental. But when they're used to try to get closer to God and to try to live with what God has planned for you, that's the real deal, man. But every day of my life, and I try to share this everywhere I go. Guys just like y'all. Um, while I'm honored that people look at me the way they do, I'm honored that I pray every day that I can be an encouragement, that I can be, a motivation to other people. And dude, I'm human like everybody else. And I have days when it seems like nothing I do goes right. It seems like every time I touch something, I break it or drop it or whatever. And it's usually one of those days I stop. And I'm like, I'm like, devil, not today.
not
Uh, not
today.
not today, not tomorrow, not ever. And but I don't allow those adversities, the obstacles. I don't allow those to come in, take control, and control my day.
Right.
It's like the whole resources thing. You can either let the world control you, or you can take the bull by the horn and say, you know what, um, God's with me. We got this.
Yeah,
And
and that's
that,
all you need.
yes, amen, amen,
That's
brother.
it. And so I
Exactly,
mean,
and too many people kind of let this. And I know, I'm not just saying this. I'm guilty of it myself, letting the little things get to you. And if there's anybody out there that says they don't let sometimes, maybe not all the time, but let the little things get to you, and they don't, they're not telling the truth because I can
No,
get
they're not.
there different times. And I'm very very guilty of it. And but man, and like we talked about earlier, you can only control what you can control, and don't let them little things get to you, and just move on because stuff's going to happen. Weather
It is.
weather can be bad, and if you can kind of control letting those little things get to you and get agitated and start throwing things, which I don't do that much anymore, but I used to.
Yeah. So we've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Um, and it's from John is asking, how were you able to tie your lures uh, to when you're going out fishing and stuff? How do you tie your
You said their name was John.
John?
Okay.
Mhm.
We can let John know that if he does have, and I'm assuming he has internet access or he's on social media, that's something I want to share in just a moment about our platform. So we've just had to
Yeah.
change them due to getting hacked. And he can also go to our YouTube channel. We're about to really start ramping that up and putting the content out there. But the way I do it, as far as tying them on, I usually either reach down, with my mouth or with my arm, and then kind of put the hook point in my hand to pick the bait up. Sometimes I will use my pliers, trying to grab a hold of it, with the pliers in my mouth to lay the bait on my hand. I put the line in my mouth and I use my lips, my teeth, and my tongue to, because with it in my mouth, obviously I'm not able to see the hook eyelet. So I feel my way through, guide the line through it, and I use my lips and my teeth, very gently with my teeth because I don't want to damage the line. But I wrap, whatever knot that I'm using, I get that knot twisted, wrapped, whatever loop, and then I put the hook point in my arm, and I put the line between my lips with my teeth, under it, so it doesn't damage the line to snug the knot down. And of course, I do bury the hook point in my arm, and try not to ever get it past the barb. Have a few times, but and people say, well, is there not a easier or is there not a less painful way? Well, yes, there is, but it takes more time. And I'm the type that, knowing that we're under, a limitation of time on a tournament day, people may say, well, I wouldn't care if it cost me 10 extra seconds. Well, that's you. To me, I'm all about, because if I don't have my bait in the water, they ain't gonna bite me. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna do whatever it takes, even if that means sticking hook points in my arm, to do the fastest way I can do it. And I've even had people say, "Well, man, you need to make some kind of a leather sleeve or something, doesn't hurt." Well, I appreciate people and their suggestions and trying to help, but what they don't realize is I've already tried a lot of that, and even though it may keep the pain, it's still extra time I had to put a sleeve on, and if I try to wear it, then it messes me up doing other things. So that's the way that I have found that's the most efficient way for me to do it. And to be honest with you, I don't want this to sound off color, if you will, because we're advocate, people that are in a bad mental state, that are talking about hurting themselves or whatever. Yes, it is very uncomfortable, but to me, it's kind of a reminder every time I do that of the effort, that I'm like, hey, look, to get to the top in life, you got to battle, and it
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of going through that battle, and it's the reminder of keep pushing, and the reminder of what I call, hey, you got to grind it till you find it sometimes,
Yeah.
and doing what we do. If you don't love the grind, you don't need to get into doing this.
Nah, nah. Well, the thing is like John, and if you have not, you definitely need to go and which we'll plug all of his social medias into uh, uh, down in the descriptions and stuff like that to make sure that you can everybody be able to go to it. And when especially the YouTube channel, we want to subscribe to that thing as many as possible.
Thank
Uh,
you.
so we want to be able to hit that up, but it's amazing uh, to see him tie a knot because I was like, man, I because that was the first thing I thought of. Like when I first seen it, was like, how is he not nicking the lines with your teeth? but
And and too, John, that was a great question. But I'm going to use that question John just asked about how do you tie the lures and stuff, kind of leading into the next question, because I want everybody that's actually watching to think about this for a minute. If you think you're an accurate caster, think again. You need to watch some videos of Clay casting and his pinpoint accuracy. But um, Clay, talk a little bit about your casting too, because I've watched some stuff of yours, dude, and it's just it is impressive, very impressive. And not only that, but the accuracy, man, bar none, dude. What can you tell us about your casting, how you do it, and how you're so accurate at doing it too?
Well, thank you, Norman. What y'all don't see what I edit out of how many times I throw over the dock cable or over up in a tree or whatever. When I'm like everybody else, I'm like, boy, I look like a rookie today. And I don't know how many times Brandon and I have been fishing, and maybe I don't get to go for a month or so because of our ministry travel. And me and him will go, and I'll make the statement sometimes, because he's on a roll, and I'll make the statement. I'll say, boy, I look like Ned in the third grader, and he'll start laughing. And I'll say, and I'm supposed to be a pro at this, but no, it's it's like any other sport, a baseball swing. When you work at it over and over, and I like how my parents put it years ago. Not to take any self credit, but when you're not like me, it's hard to beat. So I would watch other people do it, and I would go get the rod and reel, just like I did when I played basketball or when I played baseball and I swung the bat. I would go get the equipment and start feeling of it and seeing what felt comfortable and what gave me the most power, or vice versa. And the rod and reel's the same way, man. And I've used and there's a lot of great ones that's on the market. I mean, technology is so good lord, it's changed so much in the last
Yeah,
10 years, and I've been doing this going on over 25. And now a lot of great ones out there, but I'll tell you, and when other people see this difference, it tells me something. But I've been using Daiwa now for going on 9 years. It's the longest running tenure I've had with the rod and reel company, and it's because they've made a difference in my efficiency. When I can take a reel and I can back that reel off to make everything smoother and more efficient, and I back that brake or the magnet off more than any other company. But yet, when I mess up and I make a bad skip or something, and I'm a half an inch off, and I hit that dock piling or I hit that dock float, and the rail doesn't backlash, that's amazing to me.
yeah,
And it's those little things that it when it doesn't take time out of your day to stop and dig a backlash out, that makes a difference. So I've taken, my Daiwas, and a lot of people think, well, man, do you use the zillions or do you use the $600 ones? Nope. I've got some of them, but day in and day out, I throw the $179 SPTW, and day in and day out, in my opinion, for the blue collar worker, you won't find a better, smoother reel on the market. And if you go look at my 30 something of them I've got the boat, about 20 something of them are those. And
yeah,
that's what I throw day in and day out. I've been throwing them for years. And now they're starting to take the technology from that SBTW series and the Tatula, and they're putting it in the Zillion, they're putting it in the Steve, and to make them as good as they can. And I have to tell this real quick on that. I remember when they came out with this reel, and they told me that they had it, and they told me that it was the newest, that you couldn't backlash it. Like, how I'm looking at, I'm like, come on now, I backlash it, I promise you. So we go to the classic that year, and the way they had it set up, there was this white concrete wall behind the booth, and they had the rod and reel back there with this new reel, and they had a half-ounce jig tied on it. Well, I backed the brake off to where it was like free spooling down, and then I turned the magnet to like 1 or 2, and I was like, I'm about to blow this reel up. And I ran back and I threw that half-ounce jig as hard as I could throw it at that wall, and I never touched the spool. And when that dig hit that wall, there was 2 little loose loops on the spool, two.
yeah,
And I looked at our engineer and I looked at our protein manager and I said, "How did y'all do this?"
yeah,
And that told me right there, these guys are legit. They know what they're doing, designing. And they have, they listen to the pro team. They don't just come up with something and throw it out there for the public to use. And they listen to the pro team. They design it. They let us test it. We tweak it and we get it to where it's right. and their equipment is a big testament, as to why my casting is the way it is, why I'm able to put it where I want it, on the first cast majority of the time, and I'm able to be more efficient.
Yeah, and that's speaking of Iowa, which I mean, if you see back behind me right there, probably about 80% of them have the tulas on them.
Oh,
And
really?
one thing that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Clay, that I like about Daiwa is like when they upgrade like the Tatulas or whatever, then the one down below it gets the last year's Tatula parts and stuff in it. And so it's not like it's each year it's everything is just upgrading itself, and because they just step them down, they use the same components from like the Tatua down to the next step, and then so that that is one thing. So like you can go, I can't remember because all mine are the Tatulas that I've got,
Uh huh.
but for the guys that are just the blue collar or the weekend anglers and stuff like that, if you have not thrown one of them Daiwas, you need to get one in your hand. And to me, they're smaller, compact because I throw the Daiwas and the Lus are my two favorite reels, but the Daiwa fits so much better in your hand because it's a smaller, compact. Um, and so when you're out there fishing, 8, 10, 12 hours, having that smaller uh, and it's lighter and all that is a whole
Yes.
lot more comfortable, especially after being out there 10, 12 hours a day. It makes a difference.
It does, Colin. And, it's from what I understand, with being with the company, what you said about the upgrade, that from what I understand, that's absolutely the case. And what I love, part of what I love about the company is they try to make kind of I guess you'd say, a series of size framed reels for people with great big hands all the way down, like you're saying, the small hands.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that is not out there a lot of times,
Yeah.
but to make the innovation to make the frames and the gears to be the very best component they can put in there, but still keep that price point, for the blue collar worker. It's awesome.
It is. And so like what we're saying, guys, is like so you can go next year and get the cheaper one, but you're going to be getting actually what is in the topper ranks of what is this year's. So you're actually it's not like you're really not getting a cheaper reel. You're just getting the up an upgrade version of
Right.
from this year. So um, let's see. Steve Dahl is on, and
Oh, Steve.
he says, looking good, Clay. Appreciate you staffing for Flat Out Tungsten Family.
Absolutely. Tell Steve's my buddy, man. He makes sure I've got plenty of tungsten and plenty of flat out. He takes care of it.
Yeah, yeah. We throw a lot of the bruiser baits, so and we got the also with the Flat Out Tungsten. So um, Michael Lindell, he's down in the Everglades, and he says, Clay, what is your personal best bass?
That I weighed 8 pounds 13 ounces. I caught it filming a TV show. Actually caught it on a buzz bait, and but I the largest in competition weighed 8.4. It was largemouth. I caught it down at Gunnersville in 15. The first day of that year, I was fishing a coastal event down there. And when I caught that one, I actually led big fish with it the whole tournament till the last day. And a friend of mine, Jay Kendrick, won that tournament. And the last day, Jay caught an 8.6 and knocked me out. I led it all the way till he weighed in and won the tournament. And I went to him. I said, "Come on, Jay, if you're gonna beat me by like a pound. Don't beat me by 2 ounces."
Yeah, right. How about smallmouth, Clay? What's your PB smallmouth?
Six. Let me think. 6.6. I caught it on Erie actually in practice. Of a FLW, the FLW back when Chevy was a big sponsor of FLW, and we went to the Chevy Open on St. Clair and Erie. Lord, that was back in
That goes,
07.
yeah, I was gonna say that goes back a ways with Chevy and
Yeah,
FLW.
I'm telling my age now.
Yeah. Um, Jay Burchard says, "Whoa, what a rough crowd! Thank God Clay is in here to keep you two in line."
What's up, Jerry? How you doing, brother? And
Yeah,
give Hunter a shout out too for us there, Jerry.
yeah. Give Hunter, tell Hunter we say what's up. So, Michael Lindell asked, "What is your favorite style of fishing and favorite lake?"
Oh, we. I get asked that question everywhere, man. That's a tough one. We go to such great lakes, man, and the way the lakes are now, from Texas to Florida to New York to Michigan, there's some of the best there is. I have to say though, I grew up on the fishing the Tennessee River, and it's very near and dear to me. And I've been to Texas and fished, Fork and Rayburn and some of those, and man, they're phenomenal fisheries. But you know, you can go right here to Lake Guntersville and catch a 10 pounder like you can in Lake Fork or Rayburn. And being that it's right here in my backyard, it's hard to beat the old Tennessee River. It's pretty
Yeah,
special. And
That
um,
that is true.
my to me my favorite. I've always tried to pride myself on being versatile, competing against the guys we compete against. But at the end of the day, I've always believed that to try to win, you have to try when at all possible to fish in strengths. I love shallow water. I love pitching and flipping and throwing, top waters like buzz baits or, like pro frog or something like. I love getting up close and personal. But that mid level range, and a lot of times, which is what you fish a lot on the Tennessee River, with a the old tried and true Carolina rig or a Buckeye football, head dig. Uh, those I would say from the 15-foot range up is where I'm at my strongest. I can get out there with a 6 pound line and a drop shot or the little Demiki thing and do that. But when I'm in my wheelhouse, you lock that 7/6 dial with the Tula rod and that 8-1 reel in my hand with some 65-pound vicious braid or 20-pound fluorocarbon and let me put that Buckeye jig on there and go to work. I'm a happy man.
Hey, to you, Clay, though, what do you think's easier to go to like a lake in Florida, or go to the south and learn how to fish a lake in the south if you're from the north, or if you're from Florida, go up north and try to learn how to fish the northern lakes? What do you think? What do you think comes easier?
Man, I tell you, that's a great question. Because you got such a diversity in the way the lake sets up. My personal opinion is if you know what the fish are on, I think it's personally kind of easier maybe to go up north in the clear water where you've got the smallmouth deal. But on the flip side of that, you know, learning vegetation can be very intimidating. Growing up on the Tennessee River, I got my rear end handed to me several years and still do. But I finally learned a lot of times finding them in that grass a lot of times is like finding a needle in a haystack. But when you learn to read the grass and you learn to read, like when you get mixtures such as a mixture of hydrilla and milfoil with a hard bottom, a lot of times that's it's game on. But now with the eelgrass being like it is, when the eelgrass gets torn loose, prime example about a month ago, I had the son of one of our title sponsor on Gunners when we were filming, and some of the best grass beds I know that they're in year after year. You couldn't even hardly fish them effectively because so much eelgrass, had gotten the wind and blown it in there on it and it made it to where you couldn't penetrate the mat to punch it, even with like a 2 ounce weight, without going there and dabbing it through. And you couldn't really throw a frog over it because it was so thick, that the fish couldn't get through the mat, to come up and get them. And so it made it was a little bit aggravating, but I just kept moving and looking and realizing my wind angles and all that. And I started getting on some grass to where it wasn't as affected by that. And we do immediately, we went catching them. We went catching some frogfish and punching fish. But to fully answer your question, if you understand the grasses and the vegetation and how the fish and the brim and the whole food chain relate to that, it sometimes it's easier to figure them out and find them. It's just a matter of taking the time to get in that right area, because you have to keep moving and looking and moving, which is what you have to do up north anyway. With the whole forward facing sonar thing now, a lot of it is just moving and looking. But if you're up north, and I've always found this to be true, big smallmouth, they like boulders, they like isolated hard objects. So if you know where some of that stuff is, you can go to it. A lot of times they're there, and a lot of times the northern smallmouth are a lot more aggressive than down here, because the season is so much shorter up there that they actually bite when you get around.
Yeah, and the reason I brought that up too is I get that question handed to me a lot, and of course I grew up in Florida. I fished in Florida all my life. Yeah, I've just been in Tennessee for the last 3 years, but when you go down into Florida, you start fishing just like Okeechobee, Lake Estepoga, Lake Kissimmee. It all looks the same when you get down there. Uh,
Yes,
so everything looks the same, but you could take a stretch of shoreline. It all looks identical, but you could fish a stretch of shoreline for 2 hours and not get bit, and all of a sudden you run across three or four fish, bam, bam, bam. You come up, even south like Tennessee, and not even talking about like going up to the Great Lakes and stuff. You get on some of the lakes in Tennessee. You get into some of the lakes like New York and some of the Great Lakes stuff. You get out there, there's 95% of the lake when you're looking at it or scanning it or looking at it from Google Earth that there's not going to be any fish in.
right.
But you get down in Florida and you get out there and it's like, bam,
Everything looks good.
where do I start? So I kind of wanted to get your perspective on that. And because and what you said basically was kind of my thinking on that as well. But like I say, when you get down in Florida, it's like, man, where do I want to start? Because everything looks like it's going to have fish in it and big ones. So
Yeah.
It does, and one of the things you have to be very careful of, and I got caught in this trap a lot early in my career, is you look out there in Gunnersville, and I'll use this as an illustration. I laugh now when a lot of times when I see these young people or whatever, reach out. And one thing I'm always careful of, if they tell me, hey man, if I get a text or an email or a message on social media, and hey man, what do I need to do at Gunnersville to catch them? I'm not going to say go get the trap, because there's only 6,489,000 acres of it. And for somebody that's not ever been in it, when you look up and you see 3 miles of grass in front of you, that can be intimidating.
yeah.
And you can fish all day long and be close to them, never land on them, and never get a bite. So with that being said, what I always try to do is take where the fish should be that time of year, whether that's say 6 foot to 10 foot or whatever that range may be, and start eliminating, so it's not such a big picture. And even though you may have 3 miles of grass, well, let's say if they're in 2 to 4 feet, that 2 to 4 feet may be in 200 yards of that 3 miles. And when you start dissecting it down, it really helps take the pieces of the puzzle and put them together a lot faster than being so vast and so broad. And you know you can lose confidence when you keep thinking, man, they should be here, man, they should be here, man, they should be here, and 2,200 casts later you still ain't got a bite.
Yeah. Now, with you growing up on the Tennessee River, and um, do you prefer to fish like a river system that has current, or do you like fishing like the highland reservoirs and stuff?
They both got their upsides, man. I'll be honest with you. That doesn't affect me one way or the other, man. I'm just a competitor, and wherever we go, hey, I'm on a. It's game time, and I'm ready to strap it on, and go get after them. I do love fishing current. I love fishing rivers. When we get that opportunity, I feel like it can. I kind of feel like I may be ahead of the playing field somewhat, because if you understand current seams and breaks, and like the Tennessee River, a lot of times how the fish set up on those. it takes a lot of that the efficiency and the guesswork out of. I mean, I'll still go check places, but when I know that they're running like on my experience, for instance, on the Tennessee River in the summertime, if they're running say this many 1,000 cubic feet, I can automatically, from my experience, say, okay, well, this area should be really good. This area should be really good. So I can narrow down a lot quicker than say, and if you say, okay, they're running 100,000 cubic feet, well, bam, I know what section should be best when they're doing that. So it really enables me to tighten that window down quick,
Right.
to go and look. But I've always loved fishing current. It's a lot of fun. The fish seem to be stronger in it, from fighting and swimming in it. It's just like us running on a treadmill, a lot. They're in really great shape, and it's a lot of fun fishing rivers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoy fishing rivers uh, a lot, but the Highland reservoirs they kick my rear end. I mean,
They can.
I I mean, I'd rather it be have current and muddy water than have 50 foot of clear water and I can't do anything.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I grew up in Hamilton, Alabama, was about 50 miles from Smith Lake. And before the blueback herring got introduced to that lake, from November to April, I loved that lake because you could go over there more whenever on the bed. You could see them 10 foot deep on the bed. I loved that lake. And after May, when it got the water temperature got up in the 80s, I was like, okay, somebody can go to the dam and pull the plug on the dam down there and drain the lake.
Just
And it would make any fisherman, a good fisherman, want to sell everything they had because it could get tough.
yeah, yeah. Um, I totally understand that. I do like those blueback heron lakes. Uh, but because we got Lanier that's real close to us, and I've gone there a couple times, and I mean, I just want to go over there and catch some of them giant spots that they have there. But I've caught a few spots, but it hasn't been any of them giant ones that they say that's in there.
Oh,
But
dude, you get on them kind of lakes, man, when they got them cane piles or them brush piles, and you bomb that big top water out there, and it sweat dripping off your nose, and when you see them 4 pounders come out of 20 foot of water and blast it, that's pretty cool.
yeah, and that's we had Hank Rogers on last week with Bass Geek, and he just posted a video on his YouTube channel about the forward facing sonar, and to where because he lives up there by Cherokee Lake Cherokee, and he you could see the bass coming up out of like 25-30 foot of water, and he's throwing like a spook, and you can see the spook just on top of the forward facing sonar, and then next thing you know, just boom, just nail it.
Yeah.
So we got a couple questions coming in. Well, we got a bunch of them come in, but it goes by so fast, and I just kind of got to pick and choose them.
Right, I understand.
Let's see. Mike Lindell says, "What is your opinion on forward-facing sonar?"
It's I figured we were going to get this question. I've been getting it a lot lately, and it's a great question, man. It's without a doubt it's a tool that has its place in time. Um, I've really been thinking a lot about it over the last several months. I remember, when it first came out. I'm kind of one of them, I'm old fashioned, dude. And I remember when it first came out, I didn't even get it for the first couple of years because I was thinking, well, number one, is it a fad? Number two, if it's not a fad, I don't want to get it until I know it's legit.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was, not on the pro team of any electronic sponsor, and so I was kind of a free agent. I was, buying what I wanted to put on the boat. And I remember my wife, and it's funny she brought that up because me and Brandon were at an open on Hartwell that year when I think I'm trying to remember. I think Patrick Walters might have won that. and Brandon and I neither one had it. Him was Elite Series Pro. And I remember sitting in the park. We were sitting in the rental house driveway that we were at rigging up on Wednesday, and me and Brandon were joking because it was this time of year. It was tough. And he goes, Hammer, how many rods you got rigged up? And I hadn't even thought about it. I'm just rigging rods, because I was all over the board on what I was going to do. And I go to count and I said, dude, I got like 24 rods rigged up. I've never rigged this many rods for a tournament. He gets to counting his. He said, dude, I got you beat. I got 32. And we both just kind of stopped and started laughing. And Brandon looks over at me and he says, Hammer, you know what's about to happen, don't you? And he calls me Hammer a lot. I looked at him and I said, yep. And he looked at me and he said, whoever's on them forward face on, they're about to kick our teeth in. I said, yep, you're right. And at the end of that tournament, I remember my wife looked at me and she said, honey, she said, this is something on next year's boat. She said, if they've got it, we got to get it. She said, we got to pay for it. We got to get it. And I was like, which I knew she was all in support way before that. But I
Yeah.
remember Brandon looks at me and says, "Mama," he said, well, you know what kind of support you got from Mama now? She tells me to go ahead and put this on there. But it's came a long way, dude. I run the Mega Live, the Humminbird version, and it's amazing at what you can see with it. But and I use it, but I will be honest with you, I don't do like a lot of the guys that maybe get out there in the middle of the lake with a trolling motor on high, just trolling and looking, like that. I don't do that with it. Unless I maybe on a say a herring lake and they're schooling and I see them and I try to figure out where that school's going. But day in and day out, that's not me, dude. Day in and day out, yeah, I'm gonna have mine on, but as I'm fishing, doing my thing, I'm gonna use it. So like if they come up, one blows up, I'm gonna flip it over there and see if they're there. But I use mine more. I actually use my side scan and my 360 more so because I want to look for if I'm not catching them on a bank, I want to look for what they might be on out offshore. So when I see that stump or that isolated rock, then I'm going to scan my Mega Live over to it, and I'm going to look at it. And what I do like about it, I like the fact that when you throw your bait out there, you can see how they react or what they do.
Yeah.
So it can clue you in on yeah, I'm throwing the right thing, or they're not even looking at it.
Right.
And with that being said, it is a tool, but yet I'm still, and I'm gonna have it, but it kind of makes me think of the old Alabama rig days. When they were on the Alabama rig, chances were if you weren't throwing it, you were gonna get your tail handed to you.
Yeah.
Well, if you're on one of those lakes when forward facing sonar is the deal, you better be doing it. The vast majority that are doing it are going to be, are going to catch them. But still, like I said, it's a tool. And I'll be honest with you, I am. I've had to do a lot of adjustment changes in my game the last several years because of as good as these young guns are coming up. But with that being said, I still to this day, I think it would be cool as a tournament organization for us to have a few tournaments a year to where they say, look, no side scan, no forward facing sonar, 2D sonar mapping, and let's get at it.
Yeah,
I'll,
and
I'll be like, cool, let's go.
I was gonna
Norman and I've
say,
talked
right here,
about
I was gonna
just
say
have.
you had mentioned that because well, Colin's about to say the same thing I was about to say. Is me and Colin's been talking about that how
They
they
need,
have one or two tournaments where no side scan, no side imaging, just and a lot of the younger generation probably doesn't even know what a flasher is.
yeah, put a flasher on that
Yeah,
thing.
I still wish I could get one.
now we're going old school talking about flashers, but yeah, just have one or two tournaments, and it doesn't even have to be on the pro level. Just an open tournament or two, just where show up at the boat ramp. You're not allowed to use anything other than your regular bottom scan. Can't
Right,
use
right.
imaging. Everything else has to be turned off, and just go old school.
Yeah, I think that'd be an awesome tournament. I mean, because I think the older guys are going to shine more on it, but these kids that's coming up through high school and college and stuff like that, they're hammers though. I mean, if
Well,
you just get them around it, I think that they can figure it out.
I try to look at it from all perspectives, and to eat to some people, they say that that's the future. I just text that guy asked me the other day, a friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine, I've known for years. He sent me a text when a lot of these videos started coming out of the people and their opinions and the ones that were upset, blah blah blah. And a friend of mine asked me, he said, "Do you think they're going to ban forward-facing sonar?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, "What I can tell you is I believe going forward, and this is a whole nother topic, but I do believe going forward that some of our rules will be tweaked a little bit because it's very difficult when you grew up old school like me to when you I've always been the one, just like KVD said in his last tournament, before he stepped down. When KVD said he's always tried to do it with the highest level of integrity. I'm the type guy that, hey, look, I've been blessed, so blessed in my career that I know my credentials are not what some guys are. I know that, but I also know the greater purpose for why I'm out here. And if I go the rest of my career and I never win a national tournament, as much as I would love to, if I never win a national tournament, hey, at the end of my career, man, it's been one heck of a ride, man. And I've got to live my dream. I've got to do what millions hadn't been able to do. But at the end of my time, I'm not going to be one of these. I don't plan to be one of these that says, okay, I'm going to retire at whatever age. I'm one of these. I love it so much. Hey, as long as I'm physically able, we're gonna go. But I'm the type that I look at it like this: of I want at the end of my career to know when I lay my head on a pillow at night that I've done everything I could do, but I've kept the highest level of integrity, and I'm not going to push, even though there may be a gray area there. You know, I'm not going to push that. People say, "Well, you don't want to win." Well, yeah, I do want to win, but I never want anyone to question: Did this guy do it? By the book? Did this guy do it with the highest level of integrity? It's just like I've been so blessed that when with the fans I have, when people say, "Man, man, I wish you'd let me know you've been here. I'd give you some of my best spots." Thank you, and I appreciate that offer. But even if you would have offered it to me, I would have declined it. And it is not to be rude. It's because if I don't go there and I don't find them and I don't catch them, I want it to be on me.
Yeah.
And no offense to anybody, I appreciate them offering, but I don't want anyone to ever think or give a if you don't give them a reason to think that you did it wrong, they can't think you did it wrong.
Right. Exactly. Now, let's see. We'll hit a couple questions real quick. Let's see. Jerry Brousseau says, "What is Clay's pick of the three? Smallmouth, spots, or largemouth?"
Brother, if it'll bite my cricket, I'll swing on
That's a good answer. Good answer right there, Con.
So Steve Dial says, "Clay, do you envision a larger circuit someday, eventually, without forward-facing sonar altogether?"
That's a great question, man. The way we are right now with with the number of anglers out there, our lakes are already, man, they're fishing small, dude. I mean, even the big lakes, they're fishing small. And one of my concerns I have, not necessarily a worry, but just a concern I have going forward is are we going to have to build bigger lakes to be able to because a lot of the lakes we go to, your bigger Florida lakes, I mean the Tennessee River, the Great Lakes, as big as those lakes are, a lot of towns don't have the infrastructure, the hotel rooms or the launch ramps. 200 boats at a launch ramp, it takes a pretty big launch ramp to handle that. Matter of fact, I only know of a handful right here, on the Tennessee River, and we got some massive facilities. But there very well could be, and that's a great question, man. I may see how that plays out myself.
Yeah, and seeing I totally agree with you that I can see that they're going to put limits on what they can do instead of, and I think they need to do that, because one thing like I've noticed with forward facing sonar when it first came out that it was phenomenal, and it still is phenomenal. But and I think what had happened, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, like the fish, like people was banging the banks, and the fish moved out because they wasn't getting anything thrown at them moving out. Now they're getting moved or stuff thrown at them out on the ledges 30, 40 feet. And now I've started seeing that the fish are starting to move back shallow.
Now the fish are kind of starting to sense that pressure that they didn't have before forward facing sonar. So now
Right.
they're kind of adjusting to what the
Exactly.
forward
Yeah.
facing sonar is.
I tell you what's happening, guys, and y'all are right. Y'all are hitting all around it. But a lot of what my experience has been is the fish are getting very educated. There's so much stuff getting thrown at them now. They're getting educated. It's kind of like, and the analogy I use, this is or the illustration I use. This is not a good one. But it's the only one I can think of. You get a dog, and just like right now, we got our black cloud, laying there on the floor in front of us in the house. But you get a dog that gets beat on and whipped and neglected. That dog is going to go try to find somewhere to get away from that. They're going to go try to hide. And the fish, when you beat on them enough with certain things, while what my belief is, and Lord knows I'm not a biologist, but I see how fish react to what I throw. And while they may not know that, hey man, that's a Pro Double Deep Little John, or that's a Pro Mid John 50, or that's a Buckeye football jig. I believe they get conditioned to what the sound waves and the vibrations and the noises off those baits, and it kind of goes back to, okay, yeah, that something's not right here. I'm gonna swim the other way, or I'm gonna get out of here.
Right.
And that's an effect that we all have to be conscious of going forward.
Yeah. My dad says, Clay, do you believe that we have too many tournaments fishing on the top rated lakes?
Um, it's hard to answer that. That's a great question. I don't know that we have too many tournaments. One thing that I do believe, and I'm not trying to call anybody out, please understand that, but I believe what I think where he is going to go on with this question, and it's a very legitimate concern that I have, is how a lot of these bigger tournaments, how they're able to care for the fish.
Yeah.
Um, Not everybody is fortunate enough, and I know this, to have the fully rigged boats like we fish out of. That's got the top end pumps and everything else. But even with that being said, one of the things I'm glad he brought this up that I am so excited about. In the past, there's been oxygen producing, or they claimed it produced oxygen mechanisms that were put in live wells. And me and my wife are very blessed to be a part of a company that's up and coming. That's going to be called Fish Long. I actually just got mine put in the boat a couple of weeks ago. I've only used it one time so far. We're fixing to hit the market with it next year, but it's been the first mechanism ever made, and a dear friend of mine invented it. A group of people I know, they invented it, and this deal is the only mechanism, and we have all kind of studies to back up what we say. This is the only mechanism ever to be produced at this point that produces up to 98% pure oxygen safely in a boat and or anything else. And they did some tests on it back at one of the Bassmaster Elite tournaments up north. They put it in the last bunk tank going up on the stage, and it was ironic that the fish that came out of the tank that had our fish lung in it, they were flopping all up on the scales. They kept having to slow the weighing down, trying to wrap the fish up in the bag because they were so active. But my concern is not so much how much pressure, but the conservation side of, if you don't treat the fish right, the laden mortality is what kills some of these fisheries that puts them in these downward cycles. Because even though when you turn them loose, you may see them swim off. When they've been inside that live well and the oxygen content is not high enough, it basically is smothering them to death like it would, like some people unfortunately did during COVID. That they smothered with
Yeah.
pneumonia, and it's a delayed mortality deal that you might not see them dead day or tomorrow, but different places you see them floating. And I've seen this. if the other big tournaments were there and then we came in with the Bass Open and I started practicing and all of a sudden I put it at the ramp and I'm seeing 30, 40, 50, dead bass that are 3, 4, 2 to 5 pounders, I'm like, ooh, wait a minute here. This ain't good.
Mhm. Nah. Now, we another question that we have for you is, God has blessed you to be able to inspire so many people by you going and talking to companies and churches, and to like to schools and stuff like that. Um, does that mean as much to you to be able to go and talk to those people, as does it mean as much to you as proficient, or not as much, or even more?
Yeah, it means more. And the reason I say that, don't get me wrong, man. I love competing. I love winning. I love trying to win. I want to be able to win to give the glory to God. And God has blessed me so much with the platform of being a professional fisherman to give that platform. But at the end of the day, our real purpose on this earth was, there's people that haven't quite got to this point yet and figured it out. But when you are a Christian, and even for those that are not, God has called us all for a purpose. God has called us all to be extraordinary. And I firmly believe that we're put out here to try to be an example for others. And in our case, to win souls to the kingdom and disciple them. And to me, I mean, yes, as much as I love to win tournaments, love to compete, love to fish. There's nothing that tops, man, when me and my precious wife go to a church or to a company, and I'm very careful how I do it at companies because I know, a lot of them are careful in how they bring out religion. But nothing touches me more than when I see that soul come to me at the end of it, or my wife, whether it's a adult woman, adult man, a teenager, a young adult, whatever it is, comes to us and says, "Hey, look, because the way y'all live y'all's life, man, I want to know about Jesus and I want to be saved so
Yeah,
I can experience what y'all have." And seeing that, man, there's no amount of money that no amount of financial reward that touches seeing that come to fruition.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. I kind of think it sort of kind of goes hand in hand too, Clay, because your professional angling kind of gives you that platform and allows you to be able to get out with the companies, with the schools, uh, to be an inspirational speaker as well. So I think it kind of goes hand in hand. Being a professional angler allows you to be able to have that platform to get out and do what you do as far as to inspire others by talking to them and sharing your story.
We appreciate that, man. It absolutely does. And the thing when I go, I try to do hands-on illustrations or demonstrations with them because it's like I said, before. Anybody can go out there and talk it, man. But I want to start with the kids. A lot of kids don't realize I can throw a football or something that may be every day to them. I can go talk about it all day, but I want to give them validity so when they see me do it, it's like, yeah, this man does do this. He don't just talk about it.
Yeah, I seen a video. What was it? Maybe a month and a half ago, where you was in a gym at a high school,
Yeah.
and you threw that football to that kid. So it was pretty awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, buddy.
Um, let's talk. We've talked a little bit about your family, but uh, let's go a little bit into a little more. Let's talk about Miss Kim. I mean, she's got to be like your biggest cheerleader of all, and in which we talked a little bit beforehand. And I mean, you could just see the love that she has for you when she's around you and stuff like that. And which I've met her a couple times, and when I've talked to you and stuff like that, and so let's talk about her and like how. Uh, like she kind of what's I don't know how to really say this, but she's uh like you can tell that she is fully back behind you, encouraging you to do the fishing and being able to go and inspire other people. So I wanted to be able to at least talk a little bit about her, if you don't
Well, I
mind.
Absolutely, man. Dude, she's. I'm not just saying this because she's sitting across the room from me right now. She's man. She's my rock. We kind of have this little joke, this little thing between us every day. We tell each other we're each other's peanut butter and jelly. Some days I'm the peanut butter and she's the jelly, and some days I'm the jelly and she's the peanut butter. And
Right.
we're a team, and we tell everybody, hey, marriage is not 50-50, man. It's 100-100. And she is definitely she's my rock, my prayer partner, my prayer warrior, my teammate. She makes sure that I'm taken care of. I'd actually put her on here where you could see her, but bless her heart, she has been dealing with bad allergies, and she
Nah.
has felt awful all day, and so she's over under a blanket trying to relax, and but anyway, dude, she's an incredible nana to our four grandchildren. Worked for me full time as my teammate. Walked away from when we got married. A lot of people don't know this, but when we got married, if she had worked her way up, she was a very successful real estate agent and a retail exec at a bank. And she had worked, for many years trying to build that into a successful career. Well, when we got married, it was like, okay, we discussed it, we prayed about it. We knew if she continued in that career and I continued in mine that I had built, that we were going to be apart over 200 days on the road, and we didn't want that. And
Right.
bless her heart, she was the one that volunteered. She said, "Well, honey," she said, "I will do whatever you want me to do." And I said, "Well, I don't want to be apart." So she walked away, man, from an incredible career, and she said, "Well, honey, let's do this as a team. I'm gonna go full time with you." And I told her, she was rocking on to life, and I messed everything up. And so what I always get her and tell her, I said, well, she's over there said, "No, I did not." But yeah, I always tell her, I said, "Yeah, you had it going on. I came along and I messed it all up." But no, she's amazing, dude. I can't say enough good things about her, dude. She is it if the definition of a Proverbs 38 woman, um 31. I'm sorry, Proverbs 31 woman. I don't know why I said 38. Um, she is that, man. She is what if I look back, and I know a lot of people, you hear people say, "Well, man, my dream wife would be this. My dream wife would be that." She wears many hats, and she wears them incredibly well. And um, she's just amazing, dude. And I tell you, and this is kind of comical, but this will tell you, to me, it tells me a lot about my wife. You get a lot of wives out there that are supportive, but when it comes to the sacrifice, when it comes to the grind of what we do, um, you get a lot of wives. I shouldn't say you get a lot of wives, but I know of people who have had wives that are no longer with them anymore because of the strain that professional fishing can put on a family, and because maybe they didn't make money or whatever. And I can honestly say that my wife has never, and Lord knows, if we paid for our house on what I've won in the last 8 years, we'd be living in a box somewhere, dude. But my wife has never looked at me at a tournament when I went out there and I've stunk it up. She's never looked at me and been like, "Well, boy, you suck today. Why didn't you catch them? You're terrible." She's never had that attitude. With her, um, to be honest with you, if anything, she supports me more when I stink it up. I mean, but I shouldn't say more. But she is there when I stink it up. When I come in and I've done terrible. You know, as I told Jurgen, she came up with a saying years ago. She said, "Put on your big boy panties and fish like a man." But she's so supportive. Just a prime example, dude. She just asked me yesterday. She knows, that we got our last tournament in about 3 weeks, and just out of the blue yesterday morning, she said, "Honey, have you already paid your entry fee? I paid your balance." And I said, "Yes." How many wives you know of that when you ain't guaranteed to go out there and win money are going to say, "Well, honey, have you paid $2,000 yet so you can go fish?" And that's her, dude.
Yeah. That's amazing.
That's incredible.
That's and
Awesome.
I just and that was one reason why I wanted to bring her up because I know that she is such a big part of your life and part of the Clay Dyer team that we did not want to leave her out in the podcast for
Well, man,
sure.
We appreciate that, dude. I'm old fashioned, and so many times I don't think about, when I'm outside doing something, I'm just trying to get my responsibilities done, and I
Right.
don't think about a lot of times that maybe it could touch somebody. And she's the one a lot of times that I'll bet that rig and tackle just focused on. Man, I got to get these 30 reels pulled up. Man, I got to get the boat done. I got to get tackle prep. I got to get boxes full. I got it. And all of a sudden she'll show up and say, "Honey, we need to go live. Why don't you do this?" And when that's the last thing on my mind, to be honest with you, but yet it she's that teammate that makes sure that our sponsors know that, hey, if I'm on the water and I'm trying to practice, I'm trying to compete, she's the one they call to say, hey, we need Clay to do X, or can y'all do this for us, or can y'all check on this? And she makes sure the ship's going in the right direction, brother.
Yeah. Well, while we're kind of talking about the sponsors and stuff, let's talk a little bit about who and the sponsors and the companies that help you to get out there to fish and stuff.
Dude, man, man, we're so blessed, dude. We've got some amazing partners, and I know about every top level pro that you ask going to tell you that, and they do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great companies out there, man. But we try to be. We've always got to be people of loyalty, um, and to be honest with you, to a fault sometimes. But with that being said, we could not do what we do without our partners, and that's just
Yeah.
God's honest truth. When you've got this past year, God has blessed us with a title sponsor that came on board of the Winter Travel Foundation. It's a doctor that started this foundation out of South Carolina that helps with veterans and special needs people, and it's a foundation that helps them spiritually and mentally, and physically as well. And they came on board and said they wanted to be on our team, and said they want to be on the team going forward, for as
That's
long as
awesome.
we're doing this, as long as they can. And Shipley's Donuts has been with us. I've met the owner one time, Cat Bud. I've been around him one time, and when I ask him what else can I do for him, he'll say, "Man, go preach the gospel. As long as we're on your team, the rest of your life, as long as you do that." And they were our title sponsor for 8 years until Winter Travel came along. And but they very easily could have bowed out and said, "Hey, look, now that you got another title, man, it's been a great ride, but we wish you the best. We're done." No, that ain't what they did. They said, "Hey, man, we're not doing enough. We need to step it up." And they stayed with us. Bill Penny Toyota, that's a God thing. All of our sponsors, God has orchestrated as been instrumental in placing every one of them in our path, um, different times, different ways. But the list goes down: Buckeye Lures, Spro, Daiwa, Speeder Boats, Yamaha, Humminbird, Minn Kota, Bucks Island over in Southside Alabama. Man, they make sure that my boat is, should say our boat. They make sure our tour boat is rigged perfectly. I still usually down there with them as they're rigging it, because they want me to know where this is and where that is, and I get in there with the rig men and get greasy with them. But hey, they make sure that my rig is top notch. They make sure that if there is a issue, hey, they're on it like NASCAR pit crew when I'm home, And but all these guys, man, Vicious Fishing, Costa Del Mar, the list just goes on and on. Gamakatsu, we've been so blessed with so many incredible people, that believe in what they believe in the fishing, but they believe in us and what we're about, and that's what they
Yeah.
tell us. They said, look, you know, they've never told us, look, we need a win this year, or we need you to win AOY, or we need a top 10, or we need this, or we need that. With them, it's all about, man, keep doing what you're doing, keep preaching the gospel, keep fishing, and we're going to be on your team, man. And, that makes me want to go out, and it's hard to balance it all, dude. I ain't gonna lie, it is when
It
you're
is.
trying
Yeah.
to balance getting them content, getting them what you feel like they deserve because what they do for you. But yet, when you're trying to do that and balance time with grandkids, with family, it's not an easy balance sometimes. And I really appreciate their support and understanding that. And man, I can't say enough about them. And while I'm on that, real quick, I want to bring out and say how much I appreciate our fans. as I mentioned earlier, we got hacked on social media on Facebook on our pro page 2 weeks ago today, and it has been we've reached out to Facebook and they have been zero help. All these people are going there saying that it's fake, that it's hacked, and they're saying we don't see a problem. So we basically are still in the process of trying to fix the old account, but we went ahead. My wife, bless her heart, restarted a new one this week, and we're building that, and it's yeah, we've actually had two. Actually, we got kind of a new Facebook's new way of kind of doing it. We got like I've got like a personal page that's also linked to my pro page. So I've got Clay A Dyer, and then I've got Clay A Dyer Professional Angler. And the Clay A Dyer Professional Angler is the pro page, if you will. And so if y'all would, man, help us get that out there. And
Yeah.
our website is clay-dyer.com. Anybody that may watch this that's interested in having us come minister, you can go to clay-dyer, DYER.com. You can actually fill out a form on there, and it comes directly to our email, or you can go on, the social media. Dude, I'm still old school and slow, so me and my wife are trying to get the TikTok thing going. And I'm not a very good TikToker, but it's on there. We're trying to grow it, and I've always seen kind of Facebook. Really, Facebook is what of my social media platforms. That's the one that really was growing the most, and it was
Yeah.
also the one we were giving the most attention to because of the way it was. But we're trying to do all of them, and except for we don't really do Twitter, but we're trying to really push all of them, and it's
But
we're
that's
really
a full
trying.
time job in itself, though.
You got
Trying
that right, brother.
so, I mean, just doing what we do. I mean, it is a full time job. Make sure you get everybody, and I mean, we don't have half the sponsorships that you do, and it's a full time job trying to keep up with them, and but y'all, and you said something earlier. Y'all are gonna have a YouTube, or you correct?
I've got one, but we're fixing to really crack down on putting the content out there to build it. But it's just Clay Dyer.
Okay.
And it's not going to be just fishing, man. It's going to be, you know, from the angling to just everyday life, doing what I do to try to be, to try to be an encouragement and inspiration. And due to how they are with using, religion, that type thing, we're going to have to be careful on that because we want to, number one, get the people on there, and then we can feed them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, um, we've already had you on here for almost an hour and 20 minutes, so we're not going to hold you up. And we still had a couple more questions, but we do have a question that we ask everybody that comes on. Norman, do you want to take that away, brother?
Yeah, man. But first, real quick, I want to talk a little bit about a new sponsor that we got for Deck Talk
Oh,
Podcast.
yeah.
Elite Glow. Now, Colin called me up earlier today, and you can tell he had a little bit extra giddy up in his step, you might say. He was just yeah right. He was just leaving the parking lot from Elite Glow, and I couldn't even actually understand him. He was talking so fast because he couldn't wait to hit the lake, and I'm like, you can't hit the lake today, Colin. We got a podcast to do tonight. But
Yeah.
Colin just had brand new electronics mounted on his boat by Elite Glow. Tell us a little bit about Elite Glow, Colin, and what you actually
Uh,
what
so,
they actually installed on your boat right now.
Yeah, so Elite Glow is a local company to Chattanooga. Hunter Cordell owns it. He's a good buddy of ours. Um, so I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, I'm ready to get the active target put on, but I want to upgrade one of my units." So I have the Lowrance Elite FS9 at my front or at the bow, and then I wanted to have the matching one at the console. So I talked to him last week, and he said, "Can you bring it in?" And he said, "Bring it in Monday night." Well, Monday night I was in Indianapolis, and I couldn't do it, and so I brought it Tuesday morning, and so he rewired my whole boat to have it ready. to get it set up and got me hooked up. I actually, as soon as I got back from South Carolina from work, I went by there and spent an hour talking to him about the uh, the active target and kind of some of the settings that I need to have it on. And he's we're going to have him on someday soon to be able to talk about the units and stuff like that. He's just very informative to be able to maybe help you out with some settings, guys. If you need to kind of adjust and tweak whatever, he knows about Garmin, Humminbird, and Lowrance because he has to deal with them with his job. So we're going to have him on. But thank you, Hunter and Elite Glow, for knocking my boat out so bright and early in the morning. I'm going to be on Chickamauga.
There you go.
Yeah.
But
So,
yeah,
so make sure to check out Elite Glow, guys. If you need some electronics installed, definitely Elite Glow. Hit them up. But anyway, we're gonna get Clay. This is a question we it's kind of became a pretty famous question to everybody. We asked everybody that comes on the podcast if you if you were to have one person on your boat to fish with for the day, Clay, and this person could be past or still with us, who would that person be, and why would you have them on your boat to fish with you that day?
It's ironic you asked that. I'd like to. There's many of them out there that I can think of. You know, Lord knows I've had some great mentors, but it'd have to be if I could pick three people.
Yeah.
uh, it'd have to be the man himself, Jesus, or it'd be my granddaddy, or my granddaddy Pride that helped get me started, or my father-in-law Hubert, Hubert Smith. My grandfather and my father-in-law both have gone on to be with Jesus, and but they were my fishing buddies. My dad's pretty good fishing buddy, but dad was dad was never a bass fisherman, and Daddy always felt bad about that. I was like, Daddy, don't worry, man. We'll learn together. He always catfished. And by the way, y'all don't want to have a catfish tournament and have my wife in it. She is a stud catfisher, lady. But but
And
yes,
there's some giant catfish on Nick and Jack too.
yeah.
yes, there is it. But that's a great question, man. And I but it would be it'd be one of those three, man. And I've been blessed to share a boat with Kevin Van Dam. I've been blessed to fish with Swindle. I've been blessed to fish with Hank Parker twice. Hank and I filmed two shows. Hank and I have got to be close friends over the years, and we talk quite often. And I still have to aggravate Hank and tell him, I say, well, I don't. Daryl was one that started this. He told Hank he won the classic in the Old Testament, and Hank looked at him. He said, "Yeah, at least I won one."
Well,
It's awesome.
and I would be afraid, like if I had Jesus on the boat with me, that he'd be like, "Hey, stupid, fish on the other side."
Hey, wouldn't we all, brother? Wouldn't we all? Don't we?
Yeah. So, but guys, uh, we have had Clay on here on about an hour and 23 minutes. So we don't want to hold him up, and because I know that it's probably about dinner time. I know it's dinner time for me. I can smell it, and
Well,
so
it's ironic you said that, and I really appreciate the time, guys. It was funny you said that because I was just about to look at my wife because I figured we were about to end up and say, "Honey, what do you want me to go get us for dinner, or do you want me to grill?" About that time, DoorDash showed up with Zaxby's, and she brought me a sandwich and fries. I'm like, "What I tell you earlier, guys? You keep
I,
the train rolling. She was
he's
already on it."
Yeah, Colin has an old saying: "This fat boy's hungry, talking about himself." Well, this skinny boy could eat a meal right now
yeah.
too. So
So
Hey,
so guys, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna get Clay to message me all his social media stuff to where, and we're going to make a post about it. And I'm going to try to get it into the description for this video or for this episode. So we want all of y'all to come on and just bombard his social media. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, do all that jazz, and just be blessed by just Clay being Clay. And so, so guys, we want to thank y'all, and Hope that you have a blessed day.
Had a
And
blast, man. And also, Clay, if you don't mind, hang out with us for one more minute after we go off live, if you don't mind.
yeah,
Well, Colin and Norman, man, thank y'all for the opportunity. I really enjoyed it. I'd love to help y'all anytime. I'd be honored to come on. If you need a guest, man, just let me know. It'd be my honor. I always like to be able to to go on stuff like this with people of like faith like us, man. That
yeah.
that love the Lord, and we'd love to be able to do that. But thank y'all for y'all's time tonight, man.
Yes,
God
sir.
bless y'all.
Yes,
You
sir.
too.
Thank you so much, sir.
So, guys, hope you live the passion, and we'll see you out on the water.